Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street, a frozen Main Street, and the small business lenders who help it thaw and grow. Lance, news surroundings for you. Is that your office there in Arkansas?
Well, Bob, I couldn't get back to my normal studio, so I am in my regular office. Speaking of snow, we're going to get up to a sultry 34 degrees today, so the melt is on.
The melt is on. And good to see Katie. You're surviving. I guess Seattle, I heard there's sun up there now this weekend, maybe?
Yeah, we got about 8 inches of snow last weekend, and I think we're pretty much done with snow for the rest of the year. It's back up to 45, and it pretty much stays at 45 all the time here. Of course, sometimes there's rain, but...
All right, I will not tell you what my weather is today other than nicer than the two of you. Please, I know we're getting new people in. Download these certificates, file them away. They help satisfy the question, what you're doing for training. SBA is one of the first questions they ask in the review, regulators, whatever. File them away. You can sign them if you want to, but someone in your office should keep track of that. Let's go to the poll questions. Number one, do you feel SBA's hold code situation is getting better, worse, or no change? What's your opinion, Lance?
I look forward. I think it's improving. SBA is communicating more and more information. In fact, our hold code webinar next week, Bob, there have been several updates to it to bring on the most current information. I think it's getting a little better, but I look forward to the results.
What do you think, Katie?
Sorry, there's an error with the poll codes, so we're going to have to come back to poll codes.
What do you mean there's an error?
There's an error.
There's a hold code on it.
All right,
yeah, it looks like our polls aren't quite set up, but I think it's probably getting better, at least a little bit. I think allowing lenders to clear some of those codes is going to help a little bit. I know a lot of people are still very frustrated with with how it's running, and unfortunately, just some of those codes are just something you have to send to SBA and have SBA handle. So I think it's getting slightly better.
Good. All right. So, Mike, are you going to ask the question later, or what are you going to do, Michael?
Yeah, we're going to go to the question later. Just give me 2 seconds.
All right. Go ahead, Lance.
And there are many participant lenders who can share this story, Bob. I got a call from a borrower who got a first-round PPP loan, and I was just letting him vent, and he's talking about, I submitted my application, had money in my account within 5 days of submission of the application. He said, I submitted for a second draw end of January and still do not have my money. And I said, just be patient.
Be patient. SBA continues to issue notices. What is this one about, Katie?
Yeah, so this is just letting everyone know that E-Tran has been updated to reflect that 90% guarantee on 7A loans that we just received. So that will be, as of yesterday, all updated and ready to go. Any loans, any fees that were already collected, the SBA will be automatically rebating lenders those fees using the E-Tran system. So within 10 days, you are going to have to send those funds back to the borrowers when those are rebated.
Are we sending them back to the borrower, Lance, or are we just crediting on the loan? What would you say is the best practice for lenders?
I mean, of course, every institution has the option. You could, you probably should give the option to the borrower. The borrower could have it applied to principal balance on the loan, or you could refund the guarantee fee amount, either or.
Katie, when we say we have 10 days, are those calendar days or business days, or do we know?
Unfortunately, the SBA has not been giving us specifics on those recently. I'm guessing maybe business days on this one. They tend to go that way, but they didn't say, so I would just be more cautious and try to maybe do that in business days.
Very good. Let's go to Katie.
We have polls now if we'd like to run polls.
All right. Well, let's go back to the poll then. Do you feel SB's hold code situation is better, worse, or no change?
Well, now everybody knows what we think.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, but hopefully everyone will answer honestly, and then we can get a reflection of how to actually do it.
Or hopefully Michael knows how to do the polls. We'll see it. There we go. Hey, very good. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see half of you are getting, you feel it's getting under control, 40% no change, and sorry for the 1 in 10. But that's about what I expected, Lance.
Well, it has to get better with the delegated ability to use delegated authority to certify some of those whole codes. That by itself has improved it.
And we wanted to know how you feel about the new guidance and the new rules on Section 1112 payments reductions on 7A and 504 lending. And I think I sort of know where this one's going to go.
This is probably going to be a slam dunk toward one of these.
Well, we have to have a softball now and then, but we'll see how they handle it.
I would say I agree.
Yeah, 3/4.
Although I had a conversation with a borrower explaining the differences, and it was going to impact this borrower, but the borrower came back to me, Bob, and said, hey, I'm still getting 2 free payments.
Yeah, and I think that's what has to be focused upon, is that we're still getting some relief. Perhaps not as much as we had hoped for, but we're definitely getting relief. We tell these stories from time to time, and I think this is very important. This actually happened to a friend of mine, Katie, who runs a publishing house back east, and he changed his payroll service to another service, and they promised all sorts of reductions and cutting checks and processing. And Michael, go ahead and jump ahead to slide. And they never made the pay. They took the withholding, and they never made the payroll taxes. And the problem is, Katie, what?
The problem is they weren't as involved as they really should have been. You hear about this all the time with borrowers who they hire somebody to handle bookkeeping, and then they give over all the control to that person. They're the ones writing the checks. They're the ones withdrawing money. And if you're not carefully, looking over all those things, there's going to be money that suddenly disappears. And that happens all the time. And unfortunately, I think I linked, when you go to read this, if you get our morning news, I think I linked probably 5 or 6 articles of similar situations. So this happens all the time. Unfortunately, in this situation, there was about 20 small business companies. Most of them were restaurants and other businesses that were already struggling during the pandemic, and this was going on clear up until some of the businesses were applying for PPP loans, and they discovered this. But this couple that owns a bookkeeping company was basically taking the money that was supposed to be set aside for payroll taxes and just siphoning that off and putting that in their own accounts. And these businesses got notices from the IRS saying this money wasn't paid. And the couple kept saying, no, we paid it. This went on for several months, and some people kept hearing back from the IRS and still didn't really check into it. And I think that's the biggest problem, is when you start hearing those, they need to go ahead and go really look into it, because that's just a huge problem if that happens. And in this case, we've got this quote here from one of the businesses. There was over $130,000 in payroll taxes that were not issued to the IRS that he's now going to have to try to pay back. And because this bookkeeper company did not do this, and because they are now filing bankruptcy, he might have to take out a loan in order to pay off his payroll, which is a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, and this happens quite a bit. We find that the consistent themes are longtime bookkeepers, Lance. Someone's been there a long time. For the entrepreneur, be careful when addresses start getting changed. And with what we have today with the internet and whatever, I would encourage all of you, your customers, to check that balance every day to get the emails a day and to stay on top of this, Lance. I'm sure you've had people who've suffered this as well.
Well, Bob, I can just tell you, being a former entrepreneur, I would not let anybody have access to my checkbook, period.
Yeah.
Because probably one of the most important assets in a business is cash and capital, and I didn't want others having access. There are plenty of bookkeeping services that will prepare your payroll reports and hand them to you and let you submit the funds for the payroll taxes. I hate to see this because it impacted businesses that were already greatly impacted. So
Yeah. And don't forget, I was getting my MBA, and in a class, the professor was giving a speech and just stopped mid-sentence and said, by the way, because it was an entrepreneur class, said, do not give up the signing of the check authority. You keep that. You control that until you go public. That's what we're talking about. And then after that, you're fine. But,
you know,
gotta
an example, you read stories, Bob, about institutions that make millions of dollars mistakes, but they have the kind of capital.
$500 million maybe.
Yeah. So you read about that. That's not going to put them out of business, but a small business owner, $130,000 cash mistake, it is the end in most cases.
Let's go to some questions. Number one, Lance, we got a question of what happens, what we do. I'm going to ask, leave that up, Michael. But we got a question from Disha that said, hey, the borrower has passed. How do we go about getting forgiveness on that loan?
Well, I think what you need to do is send notification to one of the servicing centers, whichever one covers your area. It's certainly a unique circumstance because there's no guarantee, no collateral, so they're not going to come after the borrower, but your institution wants it to be forgiven so you get your money. So I would submit, you know, it depends on the type of organization too, Bob. If it's an LLC or a corporation, surely there's another officer who could prepare the application and submit it. But if it's a proprietorship or, say, a independent contractor, you don't have anybody to prepare it. So I would submit.
Logistically, what do you prepare? You're not going to do a full purchase demand kit.
Well, no, I think you're going to, I would submit to either a district office or one of the servicing centers. In this case, I probably would submit to the Little Rock or Fresno Servicing Center and said, we have this PPP loan number and the principal is deceased. What are our next steps in the forgiveness process?
Yeah, very good. This question, let's see. Go ahead, Lance.
And I'm sorry, Bob, the reason I'm suggesting you talk to a district office or a servicing center is you'll probably get a quicker response from them.
Businesses that received loans in April 2020 would have had 6 months of payments covered versus those approved in September. With the next round being reduced to 3 months, what happens to those who already got 6?
Depends on the dates, and do we, I don't know that we still have that slide, but it depends on the date the loan was done. The loans that were done between March 27th and September 27th, they have gotten the payments they're going to receive. The loans done after September 30, you know, that are, there's a donut hole September 30 to like January that will not get payments. Then, so a lot of it depends. Loans in April of 2020, they got 6 payments. They will not get additional payments because there's not adequate funding for that. And even in SBA's release, they said they've already gotten 6 payments.
Very good. Question, this is an interesting question. I'm assuming that the payments are on an annual basis or quarterly basis. What do we do with that, Lance?
That's kind of interesting because really, you know, the $9,000 cap is also interesting. If you've got a business on an alternate payment schedule. There was not any guidance on how you would handle that or whether the $9,000 cap per payment would apply. That is one that I would certainly reach out to my district office and say, hey, I've got somebody on a seasonal payment or quarterly payment basis. How do we handle that with the 11, 12 payments?
Yeah, this I haven't seen anything on that. Have you, Katie? I haven't read it.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Exciting stuff. We're coming out with our answer desk, our PPP answer desk. Katie and I and Michael went through that, and Joseph, we went through that this morning, and you can put questions directly into it, and we will get answers. Lance, I know you're going to be involved with that.
Yes.
And how's it going to work, Katie?
Yeah, so unfortunately we get a lot of questions, and during the show we do try to answer some of them, but this is a great way to make sure that you are guaranteed to get your answer. And the great part is we can link the IFRs, we can give you more details, definitely more than you're going to get on the show. So this website, basically you'll sign up for it. You get complete access to the FAQ library, which means if somebody's already asked a question, you can go check the answer right there, and then you'll have the answer right away. If somebody hasn't asked the question, then you can go ahead and submit a form question, and one of our experts, either Bob, Lance, me, we also have Joseph, I believe, is going to be answering some of them. We'll try to find you the answer and give you as much information as we can, and that's guaranteed that you're going to get your result.
Yeah,
The last thing that you're also going to get is 3 Coleman exclusive PPP guides. That's going to include the forgiveness guide, the lender's PPP hold guide, and also the borrower guide, which is just complete today. So all of those guides will be included with the fee.
It's also going to be peer-based. You're allowed to, if you're a member, you're allowed to go in and answer other questions as well and comment on that. So that's exciting. And the price is $497 a year. So just send me an email. We'll set you up on that, and we're finalizing that. But we wanted to come up with something, Lance, that was just simple, and we're getting a lot of these questions. So that way we get immediate responses to them.
Well, and I would encourage the participants to jump in on the answers. There are a lot of areas of PPP that we're figuring out as we go. We're going to give the best information based on what SBA's provided us, but everybody get involved and help get good information out to all the participant lenders.
Well, very good. Well, thank you all very much, everyone. To stay healthy, stay warm, boil your water. The world continues to go mad, but have a nice weekend. And those are Lance is going to do his hold code webinar again, but that's where we are. Anyway, thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great day.